Hello, class. I hope you're having a great day and enjoying the presentations you have been reviewing or are about to review. And I hope you enjoy the presentation that I put together for you. My name is Kevin Myers, and I'll be talking about an individual growth intervention known as the performance appraisal. So, what are performance appraisals? Many of us have been through the performance appraisal process at some point in our professional lives. And a performance appraisal is a way for an organization to provide structured feedback to an employee with information about their performance, objectives, and goals. And it's also a way to align the organizational objectives with employee incentives or rewards. As you can see from the slide here on the screen, performance appraisals are a structured feedback intervention for employees, and they document information such as past performance history. They help the organization establish future performance objectives, analyzing the past objectives and whether those were met or not met, and then realizing what a good objective is for the future would be a good outcome from the performance appraisal process. They also help the organization identify the strengths and weaknesses of employees and where they might fit in well with the organization or some things that they might need to work on. And they also help plan for job growth of employees so organizations can promote from within the organization instead of hiring from the outside. If they have a steady stream of candidates who are able to advance within the organization and are already familiar with the processes of the organization, then that's a positive for the organization down the road. In aligning organizational goals with employee rewards, the appraisal process helps to set job goals for the employee so they know what they need to meet for the upcoming review period. They help to plan incentive programs for the employee, and the employee can be a part of that process and what the incentives are going to be. But they help to set whatever bonuses or rewards will be in place for meeting objectives in the upcoming period. Evaluating the compensation level for the employee. Most employees know that when it comes time for your annual review or performance appraisal, that this is the time they receive their annual increase for the upcoming year and what their new salary level will be. So most employees do look forward to that and receiving a healthy increase on their paycheck. Um, and it's also a way for organizations to recognize employees for contributions that they've made to the organization and what they've helped the organization accomplish. So as you can see on the slide you're looking at now, I've put together a graphic to illustrate the performance appraisal process and some outcomes of the performance appraisal meeting. On the left, you have the supervisor. On the right, you have the employee. And the boxes next to each are the documentation that each will prepare to come together in the performance appraisal meeting. The employee usually completes some type of self-evaluation to document their perceived accomplishments throughout the year, how they view their performance, some strengths and some weaknesses that they feel they have, and opportunities for job growth. The supervisor will complete their own evaluation, and once the documentation is complete, they'll come together and have a meeting to discuss the employee's performance. Some outcomes for the organization might be some improved performance, the employee focusing on what they need to improve on, and how they rated against the employee standards or against the standards of the organization. Excuse me. Get the process is a chance to reestablish goals and objectives for the employee, help improve their morale, identifying training needs, and helping to motivate the employee. On the employee side, you get feedback on your performance, which tells you what you can do differently or what you need to keep doing the same to continue with the performance. Compensation. Many understand that the annual appraisal process is time to get your annual salary increase, and many employees look forward to that. Job growth and opportunities for job growth. What are they with the organization? The employee understands where they stand and what they need to work on in order to grow into certain positions. Understanding objectives by the employee, a feeling of value, and then formal recognition of accomplishments by the employee. And the arrows in the middle indicate, that both sides are mutually beneficial. That each side stands to gain from the object or from the outcomes that happen as a result of a performance appraisal meeting. Now we get to see performance appraisals in action. Performance appraisals can help to address a number of issues within the organization. Primary issues might be, performance of the employees. Where can they improve? Where did they fall short of their goals? Were they successful in meeting their goals? But trying to improve the performance and reducing any performance gap for the position that the employee is in. Performance appraisals might also address any negativity within the workplace by an employee. If they're making negative comments or have a negative attitude, whether it be about the organization or about job processes or coworkers, performance appraisals help to kind of nip that in the bud and make sure that it's not an ongoing issue. Performance appraisals help to clarify the job responsibilities so employees know what they are responsible for completing within their job or where they need to focus to be successful. And then establishing career paths for employees, helping the organization to build a group of employees to help lead in the future for the organization. That can be a positive down the road for the organization. Things that supervisors or evaluators need to be aware of during the performance appraisal process, and that you must have open communication throughout the review period and prior to conducting a performance appraisal. You don't want to go into a performance appraisal meeting and the employee think that everything has been great throughout the year and then kind of get slammed by a supervisor because they didn't meet objectives in certain areas that they were not aware of, and maybe they didn't even know they were evaluated in those areas. So you need to have open communication to make sure that it's a positive meeting when you actually sit down to discuss an performance appraisal with an employee. And then being able to anticipate potential issues that might arise. A supervisor knows if they've discussed certain things with an employee, and they know how things have gone with employees throughout the review period. And being able to anticipate what might come up during a meeting will help the supervisor address that during the meeting and help keep the meeting positive or on a more positive note. Here's a scenario that I put together to kind of show performance appraisals as an intervention process. And you have an employee named John Doe who's been performing at a substandard level and has, made some negative comments in the workplace, and his attitude is reflected in his performance levels. So John's supervisors held some informal discussions throughout the year. So there's been some communication about John's performance. John goes through and completes his self-evaluation and thinks he's done pretty good and is deserving of advancement within the organization. John's supervisor completes the evaluation and documents the issues that they've already discussed. And John should already be aware of what he needs to improve on. So John and his supervisor meet to discuss his performance appraisal, and it gives them an opportunity to discuss the opinions that each have about John's performance, and they can kind of get on the same page with where John stands within the organization. John makes it known that he wants to advance within the organization, and he does see the organization in his future, and the supervisor is able to address John's performance issues and negativity in the workplace. So this meeting is an opportunity to bring both of them together, and they have a good understanding of where the other one is coming from and where they see themselves in the future. When we're talking about resources for performance appraisals, there are very few resources that are required. A major resource, though, is time. Any time that is spent gathering information or documenting performance is time taken away from day-to-day business opportunities. And it can be time-consuming going back and trying to find information to complete an evaluation. The meetings aren't really time-consuming, but gathering and compiling information to put together the evaluation is definitely a resource to consider. And then information that you need to complete the evaluation is a resource. And then any meeting space that you might need to conduct the appraisal, which is usually going to be a conference room or a supervisor's office where meetings will be held. Some good support systems for performance appraisals. If you are a supervisor or manager putting together a performance appraisal, then rely on the human resources department. They have good, they're trained in putting together evaluations, and they can help you provide good feedback and how to word feedback. And also, if there are issues that need to be addressed, they can show you how the organization is prepared to deal with those issues. In compiling an evaluation, it's also good to talk to other managers about how they might handle some situations and some performance issues. It's just a good support, so you're dealing, or you're getting information from other experienced uh, people who've been through this before. Some strategies for conducting effective performance appraisals. Again, relying on more experienced managers. They've been through a number of situations and kind of know what to anticipate for and what to expect. And they can be good to get some of their feedback before getting into a situation that you might not know how to handle. Make a practice of documenting any performance, either successes or issues throughout the year. One aspect of the performance appraisal will be documenting performance, and you'll need to know the good and the bad before you prepare the evaluation. Communicating regularly with the employee throughout the year. That way, both sides know what to expect when you actually have an evaluation meeting. And then try and keep the appraisal process positive. Um, Making sure you're objective and you are addressing issues that need to be addressed, but as much as possible, keep the process positive, and that will provide for a better outcome. If we start talking about some of the benefits of performance appraisals, and on the next slide, you'll see some disadvantages. But on some of the benefits, performance appraisal process is a good way to help improve performance. If employees know where they're falling short, they can work to improve those shortcomings and meet the performance expectations of the organization. It's also a good way to help improve employee morale. With good communication and a positive note during the meeting, employees can come out of that meeting, even if they have issues, they can come out feeling, pumped up and kind of rejuvenated to do better. Um, or the employee will get a good sense coming away knowing what the goals and objectives are that they need to meet. It's a good formal record of discussions. If there are issues, those are formally documented. If there are successes from the employee, those are documented as well. It's a good way to recognize employee accomplishments and help to provide employee incentives for the upcoming review period. When we're talking about disadvantages of performance appraisals, this can be a stressful time for the employee and the supervisor. Anticipating, what might be said, or being anxious about the meeting. It's natural for both sides. Um, Oftentimes, it can be time consuming finding the documentation to complete the evaluation, or just putting it into words how you feel about you know your performance or the employee's performance, and their shortcomings. And then it can be perceived as unfair by some employees if they feel like other employees um, are performing exactly the same, but they're treated a little bit better. Then they perceive that this as being unfair. So, in summary, in using performance appraisals as an intervention by an organization, it can be a great tool for the organization to help improve performance and improve employee morale, and know that the employees are valued within the organization. It provides great feedback to the employees so they know what they need to work on, and overall can result in a positive workplace for both the organization and the employee.